Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 62. Iti uktastam parikramya pranamya cha nriparbaka yayo madhuvanam punyam haris charana charchitam. When Dhruv Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvana, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. So, Dhruv Maharaj, he got initiated, he got all instructions from Narada, and that's all. Now he had to just execute his guru's instructions, and he would be successful in spiritual life. So it is all to do with internalizing the instructions of the guru, more and most important in our spiritual advancement. Sometimes we think, oh, the guru, I'm not able to meet him regularly, I'm not able to talk to him, all these sort of things. But what connects us to the guru is following his instructions. And all success, like we see Dhruv Maharaj, he was all alone. He didn't even have other devotee association. Forget about guru, even on a devotee association he didn't have. And he had to face such severe challenges. We'll see all that. What challenges he had to face. First of all, Madhuvan, it's a wonderful place, spiritual place where Lord himself is there. That is all fine. But materially speaking, it's a forest, and there'll be animals and reptiles and insects, and he has to take care of himself completely. And Guru is also not there. He cannot keep asking him things. So we can see the determination. Spiritual life, we just need determination to follow the instructions of the Guru. Then we'll be protected in all ways, and all obstacles will be overcome. Tapovanam gate tasvin pravishto antapuram muni arhitarhanako rajnya sukasina uvachatam. After Dhruva entered Madhuvana forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Narada uvacha Rajan kim dhyayase dirgham mukena parishusyata kim vana rishyate kamo dharmo vartena samyuta. The great sage Narada inquired, My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you've been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification? Purport. The four stages of advancement of human civilization are religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and for some, the stage of liberation. Narada Muni did not inquire from the king about his liberation, but only regarding the state management, which is meant for advancement of the three principles: religiosity, economic development, and sense gratifications. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and sense gratification. So that's the difference between the two brothers, Uttanapada and Priyavrata. Priyavrata was the elder brother, Dhruv Maharaj's uncle, and he was only interested in liberation. And he said, I don't want to rule and all that. He abdicated. He went, and so kingdom came to Uttanapada. But Uttanapada, we can see that he is materially attached because, first of all, from his behavior towards being, very materially attached to his second wife and neglecting the first wife, and then not saying anything when Dhruv Maharaja was pushed, and she said such harsh words, and he just kept quiet. He's the king. Not only as a father, he's supposed to protect his son. Then, apart from that, as a king also, how can he do that? How can he, even if you consider him as a subject, he was totally, I mean, helpless. So he was materially a little lost, Uttanapada. Though by Kali Yuga standards, he is very, very advanced. After all, he is the son of Swayambhuva Manu, right? So he is very, very advanced in Satya Yuga. But he is more into this Dharma Artha Kama syndrome, doing all religious duties. So that is the beginning. Varnashrama Dharma is to do with all this. Varnashrama Dharma within us is this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But not everybody is interested in moksha, and that's why they have to take repeated births. And then if you keep on in that Varnashrama system, you make a little progress. Then you get a higher birth in the next life, and then you keep making progress like this until you are interested in liberation. Rajovacha suto me bhalako brahman srainena karunatmana nirvasita Pancha Varsha Sahamatra Mahan Kavi. No, one thing to be mentioned is that Priyavrata, even though he left and he was interested only in liberation, but when Uttanapada reinstated Dhruv Maharaj, he became the king. He ruled for 35,000 years. All the while, Priyavrata was in the Himalayas meditating. Then Dhruv Maharaja, after he left the world, then his descendants were all ruling. But after the Prachetas, there were nobody good enough to rule in their lineage. So Swayambhuva Manu, Brahmaji, all of them went to request Priyavrata that you have to come and rule because, there's nobody qualified and you are very qualified. And he said, no, I'm not interested. He said, no, do it as a service. So he came and he got married and everything, and he ruled. So it is not that only if you have material desires, you can do material duties properly. He had no material desires, but still he did it out of a sense of duty. So that is the ideal way, because that you can do your material duties also and also finally get liberated. In the case of Uttanapada, what happened? He regretted he was in the Varnashrama system still. So what did he do? He went for Vanaprasth and Sannyas. He left the kingdom to Dhruv Maharaj, and then he went towards liberation finally. So that's the difference. Raja uvacha suto me bhalako brahman srainena karunatmana nirvasita panchavarsha sahamatra mahan kavi. The king replied, O best of the Brahmanas, I'm very much addicted to my wife, and I'm so fallen that I've abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who's only 5 years old. I've banished him and his mother, even though he's a great soul and a great devotee. Purport. In this verse, there are some specific words which are to be understood very carefully. The king said that since he was very much addicted to his wife, he had lost all his mercy. That is the result of becoming too affectionate towards women. Now, the king had 2 wives. The first wife was Suniti, second was Suruchi. He was too attached to the second wife, however, so he could not behave well with Dhruv Maharaja. So, being attached to the wife means attached to her materially for sense gratification. Unfortunately, that's what most people get attached. They only see them as objects of sense gratification. That's the problem. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong in being affectionate towards women. If you treat them with respect, if you see that they're not just their bodies, then there is no problem. Unfortunately, he was materially, he wanted too much sense gratification. That is the problem. The problem is that he was too materially attached in a, he was too much after sense gratification. It is not the mistake of the woman. He's saying that is the result of becoming too affectionate towards women. But now here it is his problem. It's not the woman's problem. The king had two wives. The first wife was Suniti, second was Suruchi. In fact, they were such, Suniti was such an elevated wife. She only gave directions for Dhruma Raja to go and, go back to Godhead. I mean, she directed him so nicely. So she was very spiritually advanced. So if the king was attached to Suniti, for example, and then he would have been very well. I mean, there's nothing wrong in being attached to such a woman because he would have also progressed spiritually. But unfortunately, he wanted material sense gratification. And so Suruchi must have been more younger and beautiful. So he was more attached to her. So the problem lies with the king, not with the women. Um, he was too attached to the second wife, however, so he could not behave well with Dhruva Maharaja. That was the cause of Dhruva's leaving home to perform austerities. Although, as a father, the king was affectionate towards his son, he minimized his affection for Dhruva Maharaja because he was too much addicted to the second wife. Now he was repenting that both Dhruva Maharaja and his mother Suniti were practically banished. Dhruva Maharaja went to the forest, and since his mother was being neglected by the king, she was therefore almost banished also. The king repented having banished his boy, for Dhruva was only 5 years old, and a father should not banish his wife and children or neglect their maintenance. Repentant over his neglect of both Suniti and her son, he was morose, and his face appeared withered. According to Manusmriti, one should never desert his wife and children. In a case where the wife and children are disobedient and do not follow the principles of home life, they are sometimes given up. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaja, this was not applicable because Dhruva was very mannerly and obedient. Moreover, he was a great devotee. Such a person is never to be neglected. Yet the king was obliged to banish him. Now he was very sorry. So that was, even though he had done this because he was under the clutches of his senses, but he became repentant. So that is a good thing. He became repentant and it affected him. He was very much morose, repentant over his neglect of both Suniti and his son. He was morose and his face appeared withered. So he had done a very bad thing. That was, in Kali Yuga itself is a very bad standard, but in Satya Yuga, imagine, and he is the son of Swayambhuva Manu. Being in such an exalted position, if he had done this, it was very bad. And so he was very repentant also. Api anatham vane, yes? Api anatham vane brahman masmadhanti arbakam vrika shrantam shayanam kshuditam parimlana mukambujam. My dear Brahmana, the face of my son was just like a lotus flower. I'm thinking of his precarious condition. He is unprotected and he might be very hungry. He might have lain down somewhere in the forest and the wolves might have attacked him to eat his body. So naturally, if some child doesn't come back home one evening or this thing itself, I mean, the mind always imagines the worst because anything can happen outside. But here, the small child who is never used to any difficulties or problems, and he's staying in the palace, and now he's in the forest. So naturally, how much the mind must have been obsessed with fear. He would have thought all kinds of, the worst thoughts was attacking his mind. Aho me bhata dhauratmyam Stri jitasyopadaraya yomkam premna rurukshantam nabhyanandam asattama. Alas, just see how I was conquered by my wife. Just imagine my cruelty. Out of love and affection, the boy was trying to get upon my lap, but I did not receive him, nor did I even pat him for a moment. Just imagine how hard hearted I am. So, that hard heartedness is due to lust. Lust and love. Love is full of, feelings, emotions, real, true affection, kindness, mercy. All this automatically comes, I mean, that's part of the soul. And the lust which covers the soul, that makes one very hard hearted. All the original wonderful feelings we have are covered by too much lust. Then that's how the heart becomes hard hearted. That's why karma and prema are opposite, exactly opposite, directly. And he was really regretting that he didn't even pat the son. To that extent, he had become a puppet in the hands of his wife. Narada Uvacha Mamashu cha Svathanayam Devaguptam Vishampati Tat Prabhavam Avijnaya Pravrinkte Yad Yasho Jagat. The great sage Narada replied, My dear king, please do not be aggrieved about your son. He is well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although you have no actual information of his influence, his reputation has already spread all over the world. Purport. Sometimes, when we hear that great sages and devotees go to the forest and engage themselves in devotional service or meditation, we become surprised. How can one live in the forest and not be taken care of by anyone? But the answer given by a great authority, Narada Muni, is that such persons are well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sharanagati or surrender means acceptance or firm belief that wherever the surrendered soul lives, is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is never alone or unprotected. Dhruv Maharaja's affectionate father thought his young boy, only 5 years old, to be in a very precarious position in the jungle. But Narad Muni assured him, You do not have sufficient information about the influence of your son. Anyone who engages in devotional service anywhere within this universe is never unprotected. What a wonderful the the bit of information, that how do all these great sages live alone, unprotected in the jungles? They don't have any kind of what do you call? They're just stay there bare chested, minimum of clothes, and then there is no weapon with them to even for self defense. Just they don't know where they're going to get their next source of food, and all the jungle animals and insects and so many things. They're completely unexposed to the elements and nothing happens to them. We don't hear of sadhus dying because some snake bit them or the lion ate them up. We never see that in history, or even we don't hear such news even now. All there are so many sadhus in the Himalayas. They're just wandering alone in the forests. We don't hear that they are killed or attacked by animals. That's the amazing thing. So if any yogi is involved in devotional service or meditation, then Narada Muni is saying that such persons are well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this increases our faith and surrender in the Lord's protection, acceptance of firm belief that wherever the surrendered soul lives, is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is never alone or unprotected. That is a wonderful thing of devotional service, of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. This is the greatest, what do you call, protection or security we can give for people, for the children. Nowadays, parents, they say, oh, what is the use of just going for this bhakti, bhakti? classes and all that. I want to send them to learn taekwondo or karate or something like that, so that they can protect themselves. They need, especially girl children also, they think that we have to teach them all that. But here we see, if we give them devotional service, they're never alone in all circumstances, in all situations. Krishna is always protecting his surrendered devotees. Hmm. Narada Muni assured him, "You do not have sufficient information about the influence of your son. Anyone who engages in devotional service anywhere within this universe is never unprotected. Sudushkaram karma kritva lokapalair api prabhu aishyati achirato rajan yasho vipulayam stava." My dear king, your son is very competent. He will perform activities which would be impossible even for great kings and sages. Very soon he will complete his task and come back home. You should know that he will also spread your reputation all over the world. Here in this verse, Narada Muni has described Dhruva Maharaja as Prabhu. This word is applicable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes the spiritual master is addressed as Prabhupada. Prabhu means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Pada means post. According to Vaishnava philosophy, the spiritual master occupies the post of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, he is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord. Dhruva Maharaja is also described here as Prabhu because he is an Acharya of the Vaishnava school. Another meaning of Prabhu is master of the senses, just like a word Swami. Another significant word is Sudushkaram, very difficult to perform. What was the task that Dhruva Maharaja undertook? The most difficult task in life is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Dhruva Maharaja would be able to do that. We must remember that Dhruva Maharaja was not fickle. He was determined to execute his service and then come back. Every devotee, therefore, should be determined that in this life he will be able to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by that process, go back home, back to Godhead. That is the perfection of the highest mission of life. So he's saying that Dhruva Maharaja is exalted because he'll be able to fulfill whatever he's set for. He's saying he's very competent. He will perform activities that would be impossible even for great kings and sages. Why? Because he was able to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How many people can satisfy the Lord? It's very difficult. Most people, even they may be engaged in many religious activities, but some kind of dissatisfaction is there in their hearts. Vyasdev himself, until he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, he was feeling very morose and he didn't know why he was feeling morose. Unless we come to the platform of pure devotional service, we cannot satisfy the Lord. And so there will be an emptiness. And especially at the time of death is when we can know, whether we really are happy or not, whether we feel, yes, I've lived my life fully, I've done everything. Now, because I've done everything for the Lord, that is the only if we were doing that, trying to satisfy the Lord, then we can truly claim, yes, I'm very happy and, I've satisfied the Lord. Because only if we satisfy the Lord can we be satisfied. It's mentioned that even, about Mother Teresa, because now her uh, disappearance or appearance is coming August 25th or something. So I just read some article about her and it was mentioned that she did so much, isn't it, for society, in the sense that all the destitute, poor people, homeless people, old people, poor, I mean, poor for all neglected people, the invalid people, those with some kind of handicap, all these people on the roads, all these people, she took them to their ashram, and they were cared for, they were given medicine, respect, not allowed to lie on the road like that. So she did all that, but because it was, I mean, it is not, it is a material this thing, and it, I mean, she was a nun, and she got the calling from God and all that, and she did it. It's not easy to do all this, but still, when she left the body, she she said something, it is all lies or something. She was not satisfied, she knew there was something more. She was not satisfied, because even doing all these material work for others, there is no doubt it's very pious, but without satisfying, without complete surrender to Krishna and glorifying him. If she had taught them Hare Krishna mantra, what would ISKCON do? Suppose we had, it's a wonderful thing to do. Suppose we had a place where all homeless people can come. I mean, all the most neglected people, they all come there, and then they can stay, and especially if they're sick and all that, they're taking care. But unless we teach them Hare Krishna mantra, give them Krishna prasadam, and tell them about Krishna, what is the value of life, all our activity, that material part of the activity, will not satisfy us, because Krishna will not be satisfied. We are trying to act like God and saying, I will look after you and all that. But what's the use? They are not being connected to the Supreme Lord. That is the only thing which will satisfy Krishna. And so even she was there. I mean, there are some people also complain that, she was trying to forcibly make them Christians and all. But I don't know, what will she gain? Some dying person becomes a Christian, how does it affect her? But anyway, maybe she felt her religion is superior, that may be. But she did not promote. I mean, she allowed that people, when they die, the Hindus could drink Ganga water, the Muslims were given Quran, and the Christians were whatever their thing, they followed that. But still, she is not satisfied, because to satisfy the Supreme Lord, we have to connect everything. I mean, we should know what will satisfy the Lord, and we have to do everything for his satisfaction. That means in the internal energy. That means not in Maya energy. That means that, by chanting Hare Krishna in the mood of service for the pleasure of Krishna, that's the only thing which will satisfy our heart. And then we will not bother about all this external world, what is happening, sometimes happy, sometimes sad, sometimes big, sometimes small, sometimes praised, sometimes um, insult or criticized. All these things are part of life. And one will not be bothered about these things, because that is all in the external energy. The internal energy is what will satisfy us. And that is loving devotion to Krishna. We have to be very much convinced about this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he, in Srivas Thakura's house, they used to keep having Sankirtans throughout the day. And one day, when he was exhibiting the Shat Prahariya Leela, that is 21 hours, he was in the mood of Supreme Lord. And so he said, first do Abhishek on me. And so they went, and because his house, we know it is on the banks of Ganga. So they all went and got pots of Ganga water to do Abhishek over Lord Chaitanya. Normally only 108 pots are brought, but during this Abhishek, there were many, many more pots. And all of Srivas Thakura's servants, they were the ones who brought the water from there. And among them, there was this woman called Duki. Uh, she was very enthusiastically getting, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu noticed her, and he encouraged her, get more, get more. And then he saw that she was so happy doing that service. So she was now in the internal energy. And, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, now her name is no longer Duki, her name is Suki. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by rendering devotional service to him, then that is the only way we can overcome all the material suffering and unhappiness in this material world. Jai Radha Madhava. That is the only way, not by just material adjustments. Oh, okay, this is not functioning. Okay, we'll do like this, and then things will be fine. No, it will never satisfy. And it will keep on repeating. What's the point of simply trying to do patchwork things? It's never going to satisfy nor be permanent. But the minute we render devotional service to Krishna and concentrate on that, then all happiness, then Dukhi will become Sukhi. And and another thing we have to remember, when the Devatas approached Vishnu, and when the Asuras had taken over their kingdom, and Vishnu said, don't worry, okay, now they are in a very strong position. But what you can do is you go and tell them that let us, Vishnu is telling us that we have to churn the ocean, right? For churning the ocean, you alone cannot do it. He told the Devatas, you need numbers, okay? So you get their cooperation also, and you have to churn the ocean. And from that will come the nectar, because the Asuras had Sanjeevani, which, their guru, Shukracharya, was helping them not to die at all. So Vishnu said, I'll give you nectar also, but you have to churn it from the ocean, but you get them to help you. And then, when you get the nectar, I'll give it to you. So you just make them help you to do that churning. So, but Vishnu told them, see, you want the nectar, right? That is what is your goal. Don't get, before the nectar comes, there'll be so many other things coming, right? Like what all came, that Ucheshrava horse, and this thing, Airavata, and so many other, a lot of jewels and this and that. Please, then don't be after those things. Leave the demons, what, let them take it. Okay. You be focused on the nectar and you will get it. So this is the principle. From those past times, we can understand how the natural law works, what Krishna wants from his devotees. We should only want uh, Vastavam, the Vastavam, or the true reality that we see, the truth, which is Krishna's mercy, Krishna's satisfaction. And then all spiritual happiness, empowerment comes by focusing our attention on this greatest nectar of serving him. If we get distracted and look for all external things, oh, they are enjoying that, why not I have that also and this also, this you will lose then. If you want that also, then lose, give up this. You can have only one. You cannot put one leg over there and one leg over here, you'll fall. You'll neither have both. So a devotee has to be very focused and very intelligent, like Dhruv Maharaj. I want the Supreme Lord. That is it. And he was so determined. And so Narada Muni said, you don't have to worry about him. He is far better than any great sage or king. And very soon he will complete his task and come back home. You should know that he will spread your reputation all over the world. So through the son, Uttanapada, Uttanapada was not greatly sung or anything. First of all, he was not doing anything wonderful, and he was under the clutches of his second wife. So there's nothing great about him. But because of Dhruv Maharaja, we remember him. Oh, Uttanapada. So he will give you fame. And Narada Muni called him Prabhu. He could see the future, what's going to happen. Right now, Dhruv Maharaja was only just a beginner, but Narada Muni could see what was going to happen to Dhruva, because he could see the determination. Apart from the fact that he was a Trikalagnya and all that, anybody can predict. You see such a determined person with so much faith, in God, in the words of the spiritual master. And he was just immediately started doing whatever the Guru said. You can give, you can predict, yes, yes, this person will be perfect. So he said that he will come. We must remember, Prabhupada says that Dhruva Maharaja was not fickle. He was determined to execute his service and then come back. So that is what fickle-mindedness happens because of having other interests. This also, that also. Then, okay, be fickle. Sometimes here, sometimes there. And then our devotional service is weakened, and sometimes high, sometimes low. All these. The Dhruva Maharaj was not like that. And we'll see what all tests he had to face. It is not that, okay, he just closed his eyes and then that's it. What's there? He just sat. He was away from all distractions. All kinds of distractions came to him, and still he was so determined. And we must remember, so every devotee, therefore, should be determined that in this life he will be able to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, what is this satisfying? Krishna is very happy when small, small things. Okay, patram pushpam phalam toyam. Yeah, I am every day giving patram pushpam phalam toyam. Krishna must be satisfied. That is okay. That is just a beginning. But to satisfy him completely, and then we have to also surrender completely. Do everything for his satisfaction. That must be our goal. Maybe we are not perfectly doing it. Of course, we are not, because to become a pure devotee is not at all easy. So many tests will come. And in all circumstances, you have to choose Krishna and not Maya. Is it easy? Is it easy? Sometimes we don't even know we are in Maya. And then we have to choose, even under great difficulties, always we have to be Krishna conscious. Always choose only the correct path, the idealistic path, not the convenient and comfortable path. It's okay, tell some lies also, it's convenient. No, it's easy to compromise. Anyone can compromise. Is it difficult to compromise? Very easy. Okay, I will flatter some people because they are giving money. Okay, no problem. It is all for Krishna only now. Okay, tell lies, cheat a little, and get money. After all, it's for Krishna. You can say that. You can also misquote, misuse this principle. Utility is the principle, right? Purity is the force. Utility is the principle. What is utility? Anything which can be utilized for Krishna, you should not reject. But we misuse it and say, anything you can do if you can also use it for Krishna. So all these, so many gray areas are there. And so if we just succumb to all those sort of things, it's going to take some time and we'll get polluted by those sort of things. If you're very, very determined, I am going to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And in the best proper way, I'm not going to compromise. I'm going to stick to this path, the way Krishna wants, the way what will satisfy Guru Prabhupada, this mission, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I don't care about the results or anything. I'm going to do the way Krishna wants. Then, in that way, so many ways will be tested. There are unlimited ways of being tested. Direct Maya things are there, all the four regulative principles. Okay, for money, to get rich quick by any method, then you'd say, no, anyway, I'll use it for Krishna only now. It's okay if I cheat a little, be a little corrupt at that money. That money comes, then I'll use it for Krishna. This is one a real, that's what we misuse. That, what do you call the saying? Utility is the principle. See, I'm going to utilize it for Krishna. So it doesn't matter if I, don't strictly follow whatever this thing is. But I can use it for Krishna. So like this, so many ways we can go wrong in our, decision making or discrimination or finding out what is the actual truth, what will satisfy Krishna. Krishna wants. He is not asking for money or anything. He is not even asking for big temples or anything like that. He wants our devotion. If we have devotion and then we have desire to serve him, Krishna will manifest all that with his help. This is how Prabhupada did, right? He didn't have one bit of money in his pocket. And everything manifested by his chanting Hare Krishna mantra and his deep desire to fulfill the um, instructions of his guru. That is all he had. He said also, the only thing, if you want to credit me, is I had complete faith in the words of my guru and had full faith in the Hare Krishna mantra's potency. Everything else happened because of that. So, so he satisfied Krishna perfectly. He was all, I mean, no. So he was always seeing Krishna. From time to time, he revealed, oh, Krishna is standing there, and he was watching him, talking to him, all tears coming from. That is satisfying Krishna. We are also satisfying something we are doing. Okay, at least we're not doing too many sins, and okay, we're following 4 regs, chanting 16 rounds, bare minimum. But that doesn't mean Krishna is fully satisfied with us. We are still very much in Maya, because once one devotee told Prabhupada, what do I do? Sometimes when we fall into Maya, what do we do? Prabhupada said, what? Sometimes in Maya, you're always in Maya. Sometimes you're Krishna conscious. That is what we have. Otherwise, we are very much affected by the ways of the world, the way people think, materialism, attachment to our body, sense gratification, mental speculation. How many things? It's not easy to become a pure devotee at all. And once we recognize that, then we'll become very humble and we'll pray to Krishna, please help me, Krishna. It's impossible for me to satisfy you without your mercy. I can only desire. I'm very unqualified to do anything, which is a fact. Nobody can do anything without Krishna's mercy. Brahmaji himself, he can create and all that. Only Krishna gave him the ability, the mercy, the intelligence, everything he gave, and then Brahmaji just followed it and he felt satisfied. Okay, I also did something. I wanted to create, but only as a secondary creator and only to satisfy Krishna. How many people don't even worship Brahmaji? For that matter, he doesn't even have temples and all that. He was cursed. What is this thing? Satisfaction for this creation and all the services he's rendering? It is to satisfy. He's always meditating on the Supreme Lord. That is our perfection. That only will satisfy Krishna, and that only will satisfy us also. Dhruv Maharaj also didn't care. Once he became self-realized, he saw Krishna. He satisfied him. Imagine, 6 months, a small boy could satisfy the Supreme Lord. That he came. First, he was sitting in his heart. And Dhruv Maharaj was all the time looking at Krishna within his heart and meditating on him. And then, because the Lord came, means he became very heavy, very heavy. Krishna, everything is inside him. So that was his pastime. Dhruv Maharaja became very heavy because he was carrying the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart. And then with one foot, he was pressing this earth. And because the earth started shaking, the entire cosmos started shaking, vibrating, and the Devatas went. I mean, we'll see that all later, but I'm just giving the gist of it that Dhruv Maharaj, when they went and complained, and Krishna said, don't worry, it's only my devotee, nothing, no harm will come. And he went there and he came and stood in front of Dhruva. And Dhruva, suddenly the Lord within his heart disappeared. And he said, oh, he felt very bad. I mean, it's like a baby, it is sucking milk or something. That is very comfortable, soothing it is. Suddenly you take it away, it will scream. Like that, he was completely lost and so comfortable in looking at the beautiful form of the Lord within his heart. And he suddenly disappeared. He opened his eyes and then he saw the Supreme Lord right in front of him. Then so happy he was. He said, when the Lord asked, Dhruva, you remember what you wanted. I said, no, I don't want all those things. So, because he satisfied the Supreme Lord, he was completely satisfied. He didn't want anything. And whatever else Krishna gave him, he simply did it as a matter of service to Krishna. He was not at all enjoying it for himself. So that is our perfection. Then that is when we can satisfy the Lord. So we have to meditate, we have to surrender. That is our goal. May not be possible immediately, never mind, but we should try every day a little more, a little better. That is enough. That will satisfy us. Otherwise, we'll become morose. If you pure devotee is very, very, it's like catching the moon, and we are like dwarfs. At least, for myself, I'm saying I'm a dwarf. How do I catch the moon? That we can catch the moon only by crying to him and every day putting one step more, thinking one day I will reach the moon by Krishna's mercy. So that is why this Dhruv Maharaja's thing is very, very inspiring for us. That even a small child in any part of the universe, we can satisfy the Lord if we just concentrate on that. That is that is the reality. That is the absolute truth. Everything else is illusory. Everything else is degrading. Anything else you meditate on, it degrades the mind. It pulls you down into material consciousness. And this thinking only to satisfy the Lord and serve Him for His pleasure, that puts us in the internal energy. And that is the only thing which will bring the golden age. The golden age will come when more and more devotees are working for the satisfaction and pleasure of Krishna. For if we manage to satisfy him even a little bit, then only golden age will come. Now, I don't know, it is sort of little bit just before the sun rises, little bit of light is coming. That's all. Sun has not yet risen. So in our own lives, we have to aim for that. We should not compromise. Okay. Stop now. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Mataji, I was listening His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, his experience in the jungle, how he became very fearless. So he met one Baba there, and that Baba said, like, I'm not exactly saying what he's saying, but I'm just telling what the context actually. So he's saying, like, you never think that way, like, you are superior or they are inferior, because everybody is soul. So yeah, all soul is equal. And then don't underestimate them, and don't give them the impression that you are highly intellectual and they have no brain or something. So Maharaj said, I followed that one, and even he was sometimes he was sleeping under the trees and all. Anaconda used to come, but they never
What
did
used to
any.
come? What used to come?
Anaconda.
What is that?
Anaconda, Mataji, like that animal.
Okay.
That anaconda is right. It's a
Snake.
snake that.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it never bothered him. Like he said, I was sleeping. The anaconda used to come. He used to see me. I used to see him, and they did not do anything to him. So that's what he was saying actually. When his initial
he's
days,
had amazing experiences in the
yeah,
Himalayas. Like
Himalayas.
Naga Babas, he met all those, yeah, he met many. Yeah. Yeah, you have to, that's what. He said that you don't look at animals as if they are less than you, right?
Yes,
See them as
yes,
soul.
soul, and all souls are equal. So that Baba told him, and he said, never underestimate and never had that sort of a feeling that you are more intelligent than them, and they're less intelligent, because eventually they are soul. Everything is wrapper. So he said, I followed that one. That's what Maharaj said actually.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanavad.
Yes, Dhanvitana.
Mataji, actually, yesterday my father was telling he got a dream that the Yamadutas came and they were calling him. They said, now you come, how long you want to stay here? Come with us. Then my father said, I'm waiting for somebody, please wait. Then suddenly Vishnudutas came and they said, no, you go, now he is our property.
Who
And
said?
then he said, the Vishnudutas said, you all go, he is our property.
Oh,
So
wow.
then he immediately woke up. Then he was asking me, what is this? What does this symbolize? Then I told, maybe Krishna is giving you a hint. So you chant intensely more. So already he is
Oh, very
chanting in
nice.
the crowd. So I asked him to
But he
chant more.
remembers seeing the Vishnu Dutas.
Yes, Mataji. He said they were
So how are they looking?
They were so effulgent, and because of the light, I could not see them clearly, but I could see the four arms, and they were just flying in the air.
Wow. Super. Yeah. Very nice. Actually, if your father can come and share this now in our Sunday program or something, it'll be very inspiring for everyone. Or you can take a video of him saying this, and we can send more people can this thing, because it's very much required. Most people don't even have faith in all this. Can he do that?
Yes, Mataji, I will.
One in English and one in
and...
Kannada also.
Okay, Mataji.
Then it will go viral, because people need such experiences to hear from people.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing. Oh, Rupamai has